On the cover of that box, it said, "Through stories we are together." And we flew it to Brazil, and Heather Forrest, who's a noted storyteller out of Huntington, New York, opened that box in Brazil and shared it with the people of Brazil, and the people of Brazil put their stories in the box. And then Paula Martin from Argentina asked me about getting the box, and we had the story box travel for 1 year. And I'll be honest with you, Joy, I didn't think it would ever come back. We sent it to storytellers and concerned artists and principals and teachers, and it was amazing because when it came back to us, it was filled with newspapers, it was filled with stories, it was filled with tapes.
The stories were, some of them were audible and some of them were to be read, and they were in
different languages. We told them it would be in English-speaking countries, but if they put it in a different language, it was just a beautiful challenge.
So tell me about the Storybox today. Where is it?
There's been 3 released since 1995, and now we actually have on my website, you can see the Storybox as it journeys across the world. The latest Storybox just returned from India after being lost for a year. It went to China and couldn't get through customs for twice, but it came back and it's full of beautiful stories and tapestries. And the current box is at a Colorado prison right now, where I guess they have 2,000 inmates, and they're going to share within this, not all 2,000, but it does get bigger and bigger as it travels.
What happens to the stuff inside the Storybox? Does somebody save that somewhere?
Well, that's the whole thing, is that we have a celebration. As soon as the story keeper, who is the person who gets the box and releases the box and sends it on, they have a celebration around the Storybox, and they define it the way they do. They can copy anything in the Storybox because the storytellers and the students and the adults all freely give permission for the Storybox's stories to travel, but the original stays in the box.
But if you've got all this stuff from China and India and in the Colorado prison, isn't that a very heavy box?
It gets heavier.
Am I not understanding
It gets
this?
heavier. At one point, I'll be honest with you, we had to not send the box because it was going to Australia for National Australia Day. And we didn't send the box. We just sent the contents because it was cheaper to do that. But once they got it, they redesigned the box. And
so they created a box over there.
And it's amazing because people have covered the box with coverings to protect it. They've written more on the box. They've put more in. You know, at one point, it just grows and grows and grows.
So what's the box made out of physically?
It's a durable box. And you remember, there's been 3 boxes. I'll be honest with you, there's more than 3 boxes. 4 places that it's been to this year have released 3 other boxes of their own. So there are story boxes traveling all over the country. We actually have a theme, hopefully within next year, to do stories of peace and conflict resolution. You can still put stories in the box, but there would be a theme. And people sit down and they think, well, I don't have a story. And then they need to look at their life a little more because they've met famous people. To them, their grandparents, their aunts, their uncles. Everyone has a story that should be shared with someone else.
My guest today has been Kevin Cordy, the instigator of the Storybox Project.
Good way.
And you can reach him at kevincordy.com. I'm Joy Riley.
First of all, what did you expect when you came to the Storybox celebration, and what did you find out once you got there?
Well, I'll be honest, I hadn't got a clue. But when I got there and I found out what was happening, I thought, this is amazing. This is wonderful. I could see the potential. I could see the connection all around the world if this really went well.
Are going to meet this summer, and we're going to launch a storytelling box in the kindergartens in Vanderburgh County in Evansville, Indiana. And they're going to travel from kindergarten to kindergarten to kindergarten to kindergarten. And her plan, if she can pull this off, would be on the campus of the University of Evansville to have a kindergarten day. And we would then share the stories in the box. Local, that's very local. But, you know, for our children, they understand that Daniel Works is on the west side of town and Glendale is on the south side of town and Scott School's on the north. You know, they understand that, but still that's traveling for them. Not worldwide, but, you know, this story came from out of Scott School. Look what they're doing out there. We'll see if that works.
I think any kind of story can go in the box. A personal story, a folk tale, a story of their school, anything. And plus,
go ahead.
Plus any kind of a small little trinket to represent where they live.
I think so too. I agree.
Mine, an avid reader, the same as me, and she was in a hammock one day in the garden, reading a book, and the neighbour looked over the fence, and he said, "Why are you wasting so much time?" And she said, "You've never wasting time when you got your nose in a book." And that's so true. Some people really do think that if you're reading a book, wasting your time.
And this is kind of mini books, isn't it, in one box?
Yep. I mean, if you think of the time that was expended to put all those stories in that box, it's fantastic, because it means that all those individuals, instead of being in that rush that you were talking about, have slowed down, thought about what they were doing, and put pen to paper.
Trip, because you can discover all the fun and interesting sights, along the way, and that's what happens when you get new stories in there. You get stories that are relevant to that area of the country, that part of the world, and it lets other people have observations and insights and written records, and it builds community is what it does, because then you can see how much, and I think the students can see how much people are the same. They have the same concerns, they have some of the same interests, but yet they can learn about some of the individual unique history that's around the world or in that area of the country that maybe they didn't know or appreciate.
I believe it should be a giving thing. So everything in the story box can be copied and reproduced, but you put the original back in so that it can continue to travel. In this days when we worry about that, Frank?
I think that's absolutely. Any story that I have created, I'm perfectly happy to have anyone else that might think it's worthwhile to tell that story.
This is Kevin Cordy talking to one of my students from way back in 1995 at Hanford High School in California, who was at the original and a viable part of the Storybox launch.
It meant a big deal because you knew it just wasn't there in your community. You knew it wasn't just there in California. You knew it just wasn't there in the United States. It was all over the world, and having the world be a part of such an extraordinary thing as storytelling is just a wonderful thing to get everybody involved. And through the art of storytelling, that's something that you can do.
Can anyone tell a story?
Anyone can tell a story. Even if you can't talk, I'm sure there's some way you can tell a story. If you can move your hands, you can put some puppets on your hands. If you have a voice that wants to be heard, it's something that can definitely be done.
Is there any final thoughts? As a person in the working field, as a person in the medical industry, how is storytelling helping you today?
Storytelling helps me today because I feel more confident in speaking with people, talking with people, something that I probably wouldn't be able to do since I was really shy. And as a mother, It gives me the opportunity to be silly with my child and have fun with my child, because it's okay. It really is okay. A lot of people are uptight with their kids, and they don't, they're really strict with their kids. I mean, I'm strict with my child, but at the same time, it gives me an opportunity to be silly, because in storytelling, you can do whatever you want. You could be silly, funny, whatever, and it just brings a whole new world.
Excellent.